This is graduation for 2021 and Spanish Town Learning Institute. Our theme this afternoon, dedication, no limitations, and to strive for excellence. Let me just ask us and Mr. Music, will you please play so that our graduates will just march in?
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze
I just love it. I love those moves. Huh? Wonderful.
ilondoloze zuhambe nami.
Thank God. At graduation, the best of you will come out. The best of everything will come out. And I really thank God that you all are here. And please enjoy yourself this afternoon. It is your afternoon, not mine. And so everything is about you, the graduates, and your significant others. Thank you, Mr. Musician, for that music. God bless. You may be seated. At this time, I want to welcome the persons, our principal, Mrs. Phyllis Morgan, who is here with us, very splendid in attire. I also want to welcome Mr. Orit Campbell, chairman of the board, the management board at Spanish Town Learning Institute. Let me welcome our musician, Mr. R. Morris, who is here with us year after year to provide music. To those persons who are watching and listening online, I want to especially welcome you all. And our photographers, our online technical personnel, our other students, and all persons who are participating in this our graduation afternoon, we give God thanks for you. And I understand that our speaker this afternoon is a trainee, and we will be hearing from that person real soon. Now let me ask those of us who are here to give our graduates a round of applause. That's not good enough, you know. You see the movements a while ago? Even the fat ones. Come on, let's give them a round of applause. Wonderful ladies, wonderful. But I'm also very taken aback that we don't have any gentlemen in this group. Yeah? I see one gentleman over there, but I would always love to see gentlemen as caregivers. Now I want to move on. We will start with our hymn, Thank You, Lord, for watching for one more year. And can we all just stand and participate in the singing of this wonderful hymn, Thank You, Lord, Mr. Musician. Bless the Lord, bless the Lord. At this time, we will have prayer by Mr. Jason Jones, one of our trainees. Mr. Jones. For watching over us, our trials you made us victorious. We praise your name, most great and glorious. Thank you, Lord, for one more year. Let us pray.
Let's pray. Most kind and righteous everlasting Father, dear God, as we come before your holy presence, in no other but your Son named Jesus Christ. Dear Father, it is not by our will, dear God, but it's by your grace that we are here in the land of the living. Father, as we are about to start this proceeding, I present it before your hand. I ask for your blessing upon the speaker. Father, we ask for your blessing upon him that he may speak in a way of utterance, dear Father, in a way of dignity that showeth your work. Father, I present the graduates before your hand, dear God, that you touch their lives, dear Father, that let everything that they do, let it prosper. And not about to leave this institution, dear Father, as ambassadors of the Spanish Town Learning Institute, and as they are dispersed, not just in Jamaica, dear Father, but different parts of the globe, I ask for your blessing upon their life. I ask that you let them walk in dignity, dear Father. I ask that you let everything that they do prosper, dear Father, and let them remember you in every situation, in every decision. Bless and sanctify this proceeding now, once more. In your precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Let the people of God say amen. Come on, don't be afraid to say amen. Hallelujah. Bless the Lord. At this time, thank you, Mr. Jones, for that prayer. At this time, Ms. Charmaine Morrison, our graduate, is coming to do the lesson for us, Psalm 111.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Our scripture reading is taken from Psalm 111, reading from verse 1 to the end. Praise ye the Lord. I will praise the Lord with my whole heart in the assembly of the upright and in the congregation. The works of the Lord are great, sought out of all them that have pleasure therein. His work is honorable, glorious, and his righteousness endureth forever. He hath made his wonderful works to be remembered.
Yes.
The Lord is gracious and full of compassion. He hath given meat unto them that fear him. He will ever be mindful of his covenant. He hath shewed his people the power of his works, that he may give them the heritage of the heathen. The works of his hands are verity and judgment. All his commandments are sure. They stand fast forever and are done in truth and uprightness. He sent redemption unto his people. He hath commanded his covenant forever. Holy and reverend is his name. 10 and last, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding of all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever. This is a portion of God's reading, and we all say,
Thanks be to God. Thank you, Miss Morrison. You may be seated. You know, I always look forward to graduations and always love to be at ceremonies, graduating ceremonies. I also know that at the Spanish Town Learning Institute, the standard is very high. And being on the board, if you notice, I'm the board secretary. And being on the board, I recognize based on the reports that we receive time after time at our meetings, we know that every single person who passed through that institution must be a different person by the end of training. I have been accustomed to Madam Principal, Mrs. Morgan, since about 1972 or thereabout. I have known her, she was my senior. As a matter of fact, when I walked into Linstead Hospital, she was the person who was the sister in charge of the accident and emergency area. She has been my mentor. She has been my very good friend. But I tell you what, Mrs. Morgan, you must know your place when it comes to her, especially the fact that she's a no-nonsense person. She has a heart of gold, though, and she will go the extra mile to help everyone who comes in contact with her, especially where the needs are. And I know for this afternoon, Mrs. Morgan has a report, the principal's report, and remarks, and I'm going to ask you just to stand for one moment, graduates, while your principal comes to give the report. Can we all stand, graduates? Mrs. Morgan.
You may be seated, please. Graduation this year is so different, and it's as though something is missing, and thanks to COVID, and because of that we can't have their students can't have their relatives here and friends and so on, but we are giving God thanks that we are able to have graduation at all, and so we are grateful. Master of Ceremonies, Mrs. Valda Lawrence Campbell, our secretary, and we call her our resident MC, our very competent board chairman, Orette Campbell, very kind, helpful board chairman, and we will hear from him a little later. Distinguished guests, members of staff, graduates, and all the persons watching online. I know there are my family members, church sisters and brothers, friends overseas and in Jamaica, and I want to say very, very hearty welcome to you, and thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be watching this graduation ceremony. Postgraduates,
trainees who are here, well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Like I said earlier, it is such a pleasure to be here, although there's such a great difference, but it's such a pleasure to be here. And ladies, graduates, I mean, you look resplendent, beautiful, lovely, and I trust that you'll be able to, yes, that this afternoon for you, it will be very memorable. Our graduating class of 2021 includes 25 practical nurses and 11 early childhood practitioners, although only 17 are represented here this afternoon. Now, these graduates, number has added to our total of over close to 2,000 graduates, practical nurses, geriatric nurses, home health aides, early childhood practitioners since the school was founded in September 1997. Our graduates are scattered all over America, Canada, Europe, the Caribbean islands, and even in the Middle East. As a matter of fact, we had one of our graduates. She came by the school I think about a year or so ago, and she works in Saudi Arabia. Of course, she boasted about the training that she received at Spanish Town Learning Institute and about the salary she is receiving and how very, very well she is performing. Now, we are not to overdo it, really, but we are so accustomed to that kind of a feedback over the years since we began. Now, I would like to speak briefly, if I may, on our achievements over the last year and over the last years. Now, given the contextual framework of the industry, SLI has concentrated on 4 descriptors for learning outcomes. They are 1, knowledge and understanding. 2, application and practice. 3, autonomy and responsibility. And 4, employability skills. Knowledge and understanding underpin the achievement of skills and competence. This involves being able to contextualize knowledge and then apply it in a variety of different situations and practices to which our graduates might be exposed. In the area of autonomy and responsibility, we are aware of the nature of working relationships, the levels of responsibilities for self and others, and managing change. As you know, change is inevitable. The ways in which individuals work and the impact of this on their job role and other individuals. Now, as it relates to employability, or sometimes called life skills, which refer to the psychosocial abilities for adaptive and positive behavior, which enable our individuals, that's our trainees, to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. These are skills that employers are looking for, and some of these skills include, and that is what we try to instill in our graduates at Spanish Town Learning Institute. For example, communication skills and being able to think critically, computer skills, leadership and management skills, organizational skills, and of course, motivational skills. And we are talking about here self-motivation. Just 2 days ago, I had the occasion to call one of the facilities where some of our students go for patient care hands-on experience. Now, the nurse with whom I spoke remarked, "I'm sorry I didn't know about your school. Your students perform like they have worked before." She was obviously impressed with our trainees' work ethic and knowledge base. Dr. Levy, who also accommodates students for practicum experience, asked one of our trainees to tell us to keep on doing what we are doing. He said the trainees from SLI that they are as sharp as stencil just removed from its package. And for that, this continuous positive feedback we get, it truly motivates us, it truly motivates me to still strive a little harder to be the best that we can be. And I'm sure the students will tell you, not just this batch, but all the batches before, they quarrel, they talk about the work, how they are overworked, how they are stressed, we're giving them too much, and a whole host of things. But here's the interesting fact, that when these same trainees go out either on work experience or when they are employed in the clinical area, they oftentimes come back and say thank you for the training that we received at Spanish Town Learning Institute. Now, our trainees sit 2 external exams, an international, which is the City and Guilds, in English language and mathematics now. Now, for those who are in training, they will sit the national exam, which is the NCT VET exam. Now, with each exam sitting, the results have been phenomenal. And for our last external exam, we obtained a 100% pass rate. So we have a very tall order at Spanish Town Learning Institute, because what happens is that persons who are trained at SLI, people automatically, wherever they go, the people automatically expect them to perform way above the others. So we can't slacken our riding. And I know some students would like us to slacken the riding a little bit, but we can't, because we, especially we senior ones, I have been in the industry for several years. I've worked at a number of hospitals, and I've also worked in the industry as an industrial nurse. And so I have hands-on experience, so to speak, as to what the industry needs. So although students will quarrel, it's just like having children. And you know, you counsel your children, you spank them when they need to be spanked, and you forbid them from doing this or forbid them from doing that. And some of them pout and say, I can't wait till me turn big. I can't wait till I grow. But guess what? those same children, when they grow up, and I'm sure all of us here have said it, boy, I'm glad for you, my mother did raise me. Anybody has said that? Yes. And although we thought that she was what? She was rough. And we thought that she was unyielding. But mother knows best. She's been there before us. And so that is why we insist, we stress, we push to make sure that we train the best of the best. But we do have challenges. Our theme for this year's graduation is dedication, no limitations, strive for excellence. This theme was selected by one of the graduates. Yes. Now we would almost want, well, let's say I would almost want to take out the part that says what? Anybody can guess? What part do you think I want to take out? No limitations. Yes. Because 2020 has brought on what? Many limitations. It has truly been unprecedented in so many ways. The COVID pandemic has affected every industry, every country. Everything has changed globally from both a professional and a social perspective. The saying, desperation breeds creativity, rings true. Now, before COVID, we were expected to operate in a changing world, grappling with a rapidly changing society and its new societal norms, new standards of what is considered right and wrong, and the educational and economic challenges. Now, COVID has compounded whatever problems existed prior to and has caused what? Massive personal reset on how we think about our lives, what's important to us, what our priorities are, and how we can be as successful and satisfied whilst doing and giving our best to our students who, along with ourselves, have had to be adjusting to distant learning, distant teaching, with all its challenges. You know, we have the digital divide, spotty connectivity, uncertainty of uninterrupted service, missed sessions, and the list goes on. Notwithstanding, some of us, like Ms. Jones, who sits over there, we are becoming what? Digitally transformed, and we are all learning as the days go by. Now at this time I would like to pay some tributes. An institution is known not so much by its building, but by its employees, and mainly its teachers and the way it governs. And that certainly is not an easy task in this day and age. Now we get persons from different backgrounds, different economic, social backgrounds. And I must tell you that sometimes it's quite challenging because some students do not recognize that there are rules to be obeyed and that there are policies that they need to conform to, and some can be very what? Very challenging. But we are up to the task, and here we are today with graduates. So now at this juncture, I would like to take time out to celebrate the commitment of those over the years who have worked tirelessly and have given of their time and talent to steer SLI on its path to excellence in helping in the development of many institutions, because a number of our graduates work in nursing and also the early childhood sectors. Now, in many ways, and in molding and directing the lives of many hundreds of women, these persons have made a tremendous contribution. So, without further ado, I would like to pay tribute to the following persons. Some are here, and of course, some might be watching online. Members of the school board, Mr. Orrit Campbell, our board chairman, Mrs. Valda Lawrence Campbell, our secretary, Ms. Winsome Dalrymple, one of our board members, Mr. Calvin Wilson, our external verifier, Mrs. Gunter Sinclair, Mrs. Cynthia Jeffrey, who is not here, our teacher of mathematics and English, our IT teacher, Mrs. Afia Bristol, Mrs. Marcia Wedderburn, and Ms. Claudette Hall, who vets portfolios after completion. I hope I have not left out anyone. But we just want to make, before I move on, a very, very special mention now of our dedicated student affairs coordinator, Ms. Wynn. Could you stand, please? And please give Ms. Wynn another round of applause. And to our equally dedicated and cooperative skills laboratory coordinator and teaching assistant, and she is the person now that does all our videos. She has now become almost an expert, Miss Veronica Jones. And we do not want to forget supervisors and staff of the various practicum sites to which our trainees are sent to gain hands-on patient and childcare experiences. Without everyone's input and the input of past employees and instructors, Spanish Town Learning Institute would not be the institution it is today. A hearty thank you to everyone. So now let's look at the way forward. The mission of Spanish Town Learning Institute remains the same: to provide quality technical and vocational education and training which meets or exceeds the expectations of all stakeholders through well-developed curricula, well-trained staff, and thereby provide competent individuals for health, early childhood, and other sectors. We, like people of all sectors and professions, must keep abreast of new developments and new information. We must grow with the changing times, as the curriculum of yesterday has to be expanded to meet today's needs and challenges or become obsolete. Now more than ever, we need to optimize our institutional operations to serve students, faculty, staff, and other constituents of hybrids. To move forward successfully, there has to be a blending of traditional, non-traditional, and corporate and educational structures to retool, upskill, reskill, and even new skill the workforce. There is much to be gained by the remote model for some learners. Some persons have difficulties, but I was listening to an interview on the television, and they interviewed this young man. He goes to one of our high schools. And he said that he has done so much better than he would if he were in the classroom. So the remote learning does work for some persons. So now we can have courses because COVID has caused us to rethink and upskill and retool and so on. We can now have courses online to serve a wider marketplace with obviously more flexibility and more opportunities for all. So going back to our theme, dedication, no limitation, strive for excellence. Once you remain dedicated, limitations can become what? Possibilities. And possibilities and motivation will lead to excellence, for no matter how hard the past, you can always begin again. So despite the setbacks imposed on us by the pandemic, we will, by God's grace, continue to help trainees to build appropriate and positive values and attitudes, build self-analysis, self-development, and self-management skills to develop respect for themselves and those in authority, to set and achieve goals, to develop an interest in ongoing learning and appreciate their roles and responsibilities as global citizens who must strive at all times to be the best they can be and serve with excellence, not just through extrinsic but intrinsic motivation. And now my last words are for the graduates. So I'm speaking to the graduates now. Nothing in life just happens. We make things happen. As our motto states, by determination, persistence, and hard work, we will reach our goals. So resolve to keep your achievements, your values, and your ideals before you as phenomenal women. As we have said, if the vision of Spanish Town Learning Institute, your alma mater, is to be maintained and remain unsullied and unfettered, it will depend to a large degree on you, or graduates. That is how you perform on the job, the quality of your work ethic, your responsibility to your employers, employees, patients, residents, clients. Now you are taught that the threefold responsibility of the caregiver is to conserve life, alleviate suffering, and promote health. Ladies, never forget your commitment to serve in your chosen field. It's a commitment. Continue to develop your ability to reason, plan, and creatively make decisions and solve problems. Be honest, humble, kind, gentle, and accountable. Follow through and work as part of a team. Do have a sense of purpose and direction. Make decisions based on positive goals and values. Make healthy choices. Recognize the interdependence of people in the society identify, organize, plan, and allocate resources wisely, and be knowledgeable about key community and world issues. Let the handcuffs of resentment be broken. Learn to forgive. I know that a number of you will be moving on, because learning is lifelong. And we have spotted the potential in a number of you ladies. And so we are going to ask you to continue to grow and develop, fulfill your dreams, and maximize your potential. Remember all those who helped you along the way to being who you have become and will become. So show gratefulness. Refuse to do as the Romans do when it involves abuse or compromising of the health and well-being of your charges. You know better, and so we expect you to what? Do better. We will always want to know how you are doing, ladies. So please keep in touch. And we ask you, as you go out there in the clinical area, please continue to wave the banner of SLI very high. The entire SLI community congratulates you. We are proud of you and can be equally proud of the part we have played and continue to play in preparing young and sometimes not so young women and men to lead rewarding and fulfilling lives, and in making their contribution to society with that same courage and fortitude as when we first started. I'm ending with this. An American coach from Notre Dame University once said, and I quote, "In life, you are either growing or you are dying. You have to have something to hope for." We can't live without hope, eh? Something to dream. And even though you have done so great things so far, you have done great things so far, what's gonna happen now? I want to give you 3 rules to follow. That's according to this American. Rule number 1, do what's right and avoid what's wrong. If you have any doubt, get out the Bible. There never is a right time to do the wrong thing. And there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Rule number 2, do everything to the best of your ability with the time allotted. Everybody can be the best they are capable of being. Rule number 3, genuinely care about people, because everybody you are going to meet the rest of your life needs a smile, needs a kind word, needs encouragement. Because when you do the right thing, people are always going to be willing to trust you. Want to be happy for an hour, he says, eat steak. Want to be happy for a day, play golf. Want to be happy for a week, go on a cruise. Want to be happy for the rest of your life, put your faith in Jesus Christ. Go into the world, ladies, and do well. But more importantly, Go into the world and do good. And let your good be better and your better best. And if you can't be the best of the best, at least be among the best of the best. May God bless you, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a solo by Miss Moya Wright.
Hello everyone, to our moderator, to our principal, Mrs. Morgan, staff, speakers, to our viewers and our wonderful graduates, pleasant viewing. Today, graduates, we're here, and this song is for us.
Your pretty face into another crowd. Seems like when I fix one thing, another one comes, clouding up my vision, but I can see the sun. I know that I can do this, I know that we can win, just as long as we have His love within. I believe that we can make it, we can make it through the night. I believe that we can walk on with our head held high. I believe that we are special in every way, but in order to have a victory, we gotta believe it. Oh, ooh. I hope to see myself at the finish line. Ooh, I have to visualize that everything will fall in line. Oh, I have to visualize the storm while riding through the storm. I have to trust in my Father and open up my heart. I know that we can do this. I know that I can win, just as long as we have His love within. I believe that we can make it. We can make it through the night. I believe that we will walk on with our heads held high. I believe that we are special in every way, but in order to have a victory, I believe that we can make it. We can make it through the night. I believe that we will walk on with our heads held high. I believe that we are special in every way, but in order to have a victory, we gotta believe. Woo!
Good afternoon, everyone. If God should go on strike, I wonder what that would be like. I think it would be an awful fright when we find out there is no light. Then there would be no precious life, no more hatred, no more strife, no more evil, no more harm, no more turmoil of life raging storm. This spinning world would suddenly stand still by His great command and will. There will be no more sunny morn, no more precious day to dawn. For everything would go to sleep, everything that God did keep. The sun, the rain, the wind, the breeze. Who would be looking over these? If God again were to go on strike, that's something no one would ever like. He went on strike once long ago, and the whole world, water did flow. He left the tops of heaven running, and the whole world was without any plumbing. Then, when it was 40 days to date, the world's population was reduced to 8. If our God, great God, says to work he won't go back, I wonder who would be so great to give him the sack. He is our work, he is the boss, and he is our Savior who died on the cross. God holds the power of earth and heaven. To him all honor and praise be given. However, some great men think they do and can, but God will certainly serve them a band. Has God been getting any pay for all the work from day to day? When men have strayed from his own way, and some have even refused to pray. Will God be getting any pay for all the work he has done today? Taking care of animals, plants, and trees, feeding the fishes, the birds, and the bees, watching over the tiny ants, supplying all their needs and wants, keeping their little creepy things and all the tiny things with wings. Foxes in their little holes, the jumping toads and the boring moles, the big rats and the tiny mice, and all the insects like the flies. And then there is you and I, enjoying all the things money can't buy. God asked for only one thing in return, so you and I won't go to hell and burn. Accept him now before it's too late. Refuse to take Satan's bait. If God should go on strike, think about that if you would like. Accept him now before it's too late. Thank you.
I know nurses, they can do everything. But you know, I'm sitting there, I'm saying that if a singing nurse and I'm sick comes into my room or my ward, I would get better same time and go to my yard. Because guess what? Singing, I heard Mahalia Jackson. I heard these persons, this young lady, she's very good at singing. Do continue to do what you're doing. Bless the Lord. And then Miss Anderson, if God should go on strike, oh no, don't even think about it. The world, I don't know what would happen. But thank God, he's on our side. Amen? At this time, I'm going to ask Miss Crystal Daly from City and Guilds, Jamaica, to just bring us greetings. Miss Daly, please.
Mrs. Phyllis Morgan, Principal, the Spanish Town Learning Institute, members of the Academic Board, parents, well-wishers, and last but not least, graduates, good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to participate in a ceremony like this. Last year, we were not here because of COVID-19, but the good Lord has spared us and we're here today in 2021. Though it's not in our usual fashion, we're here nonetheless, and for that, we are thankful. I bring special greetings on the behalf of Mrs. Marva Duncanson, who is the City and Guilds regional and country representative. You are a part of 24,000 young people in Jamaica, and many of you are of varying ages, but you are a part of a cohort of 24,000 persons who will be sitting City and Guilds exams from Jamaica. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well, you have already sat your exams and are now graduating. We know how important, or we have seen, if we had ever taken for granted, the importance of our healthcare workers. We have seen the importance of that over the last year and a few months. And as was said earlier by Mrs. Morgan, if you can't be the best, try to be amongst the best. You know, a pastor I had from a church I used to attend would say, the anointing is not caught. You know, neither is it bought. You know, it's by association. And I believe the company you keep and the mindset you have, especially in this dispensation of life, will determine how far you'll go and what impact you'll have, what legacy you'll be able to build and will be able to pass on to your children, you know. So I want to congratulate all of you for having successfully completed your program. It has been rough, to say the least. Many have lost jobs, many lives have been lost, and lives are still being lost. But by God's grace and favor, we are here. So without any further ado, I'd like to thank the Spanish Town Learning Institute for your continued support of City and Guilds and for championing the brand and for giving hope to many young Jamaican women, as is displayed here, whether young or old, providing hope and empowering each of you with international certification that is a stepping stone to further development for your lives. So again, thank you so very much for inviting us, and it is indeed our pleasure to celebrate this moment with you.
Thank you. Give Miss Daly a better round of applause. Come on. Bless the Lord. Thank you very much, Miss Daly, for for coming and to bring greetings. Now, we have some quotable quotes, and Miss Diane Bernard is going to do us justice. You ever hear them say, we want justice? Well, Miss Bernard, tell us about that.
Nobody is perfect, and nobody deserves to be perfect. Nobody has it easy. Everybody has issues. You never know what people are going through. So pause before you start judging, criticizing, or mocking others. Everybody is fighting their own unique war. Someone will always be prettier than you. Someone will always be smarter than you. Someone will always be younger than you. But they will never be you. Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I have learned about life. It goes on. The true measure of a man is how he treats someone who can do him absolutely no good. If you want to be successful in this world, you have to follow your passion, not a paycheck. And I love this one, by the way. Take pride in how far you have come. Have faith in how far you can go. But don't forget to enjoy the journey. Please do, ladies. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, you do better. Train your mind to see the good in everything. Positivity is a choice. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Never give up. Jesus is coming. It is the darkest just before the dawn. Never give up. Jesus is coming. Never give up. Keep holding on. Thank you.
Thank you for those quotes. And now we have our valedictorians. We have B45, which is Miss Latoya Temple. And we have, coming after her, is Mrs. Nestra Dawkins, B46. So Miss Temple is here to tell us all about her role and all that has been happening to her during the year or years she's on board.
Master of Ceremonies, the board chairman, or principal, Mrs. Morgan, fellow graduates, distinguished guests, members of staff, all persons watching online, postgraduates, trainees, family members, well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen, children, a pleasant afternoon to you all. It is indeed a pleasure and a great honor to have been given the opportunity to deliver the valedictory address this afternoon. My heartfelt congratulations goes out to my fellow graduates on reaching an important milestone in our scholastic journey. A journey which was filled with lessons like to enjoy experiences, to leave our comfort zones and to try new things, to be patient, to be humble, and how to think outside of the box. Lessons that taught us that dedication is the key, and with limitations properly placed, we can strive for excellence. Today is truly our day in which we reminisce upon and celebrate our perseverance, sweat, and yes, even tears that went into the hard work that has brought us success. Someone told me that a valedictory speech should be all-inspiring and give some measure of advice which graduates can take forward with them. However, I stand before my fellow graduates wearing the same shoes that you are wearing. It may not be the same size though. Honestly, I know nothing which you do not know. So instead of trying to impart some sort of counsel, I can only reflect on our time spent here and share with hopes of our future. At the beginning of this journey, we entered into these gates of the Spanish Town Learning Institute, some of us with a very clear picture of our destination, others not so sure. Sometime after the fun and relaxation of orientation week was over, we were struck with the harsh reality that this was no longer a secondary school. It was not business as usual. Classes were in full swing, and the everlasting lectures and practicals began. We quickly realized that the days of being spoon-fed in the classroom was over. It was now just a figment of our imagination. Our textbooks and instruments became our close and personal friends, and the stress levels began to rise. We didn't only read for our diplomas. We did numerous practicals, group works, role plays, and simulations. Of course, in the middle of our course, we began to learn the merits of putting in the hard work. As Astral once said, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. And guess what? When we went on work experience, was when we were able to fully appreciate the emphasis that was placed on broadening our knowledge base, owning practical skills, and good interpersonal relationships. And one of Mrs. Morgan's favorite sayings, we do not send out students who are half-baked. Who remember that statement? While on work experience, I was told that I am as sharp as a stencil that was just pulled out of plastic. Mrs. Morgan, we thank you. On days such as this, it would be remiss of me if I did not recognize the people who often smooth our bumpy roads. We were fortunate to have lectures such as our principal, Mrs. Phyllis Morgan, Miss Veronica Jones, and Miss Respucia Smith, who helped us along the way. Some way or another, they always knew how to extract the best from us, whether it was placing us into groups to gain common knowledge, work productively and harmoniously, or at times, much to our dismay, telling us, "This is good, but I'm looking for something else." At SLI, only the best is good enough. Ladies, we must be proud of who we are. Graduates of the Spanish Town Learning Institute, nurses who are intelligent, resourceful, grounded, and above all, nurses who can contribute significantly to today's ever-changing world. We may not yet fully comprehend the value of the things we have learned here at this learning institute, but we do recognize that if we do the things we are capable of, we would astound ourselves. The world requires a new generation of nurses who will effect a positive change and who will go beyond the call of duty. We are a part of that generation. It is therefore our responsibility to go into the world and do our part in bringing about change by effectively applying our knowledge and skill set, making not only ourselves but our family and school proud. Thank you.
Master of Ceremonies, the board chairman, our principal, Mrs. Morgan, fellow graduates, distinguished guests, members of staff, all the persons watching online, postgraduates, trainees, family members, well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen, children, a pleasant afternoon to you all. I am absolutely honored to be standing here representing the graduating class of 2021. On behalf of these graduates, I would like to thank you for joining us on this auspicious occasion. Graduation is a time of reflecting on the past and looking onward to the future. It is a time that we as graduates get together, for one last hurrah before moving on to bigger and better horizons. This year, we have a very unique and exceptional group of students who are graduating. We have been through so much together and have certainly changed and grown together. My philosophy is this: not only are you responsible for your life, but doing the best at this moment puts you in the best place for the next moment. Graduates, it was almost 2 years ago that we entered this noble institution, and it is already time to leave. Time has really passed in the blink of an eye. All the knowledge instilled in us by our teachers would surely prove to be immensely valuable to us in our future endeavors. The most significant value I have learned is teamwork. We all have built great friendships and memories that will last a lifetime. I am grateful to each and everyone here today, and even to those who would love to be here but can't. As I look back on our journey at the Spanish Town Learning Institute, it is easy to see that this institution has played an instrumental role in helping to shape us into the nurses we are today. The journey has indeed been a fulfilling one. I started my journey in January 2017, but unfortunately, I had to discontinue, and as such, I started all over in January 2019. When I believe in something, I never lose vision of it. During my time at the Spanish Town Learning Institute, where I pursued my specialist diploma in healthcare and an introduction to early childhood education, I have learned a myriad of information, not just in the classrooms, but also in the skills lab. We have learned so many skills, including measuring vital signs, tube feeding, insulin administration, turning and positioning of patients, ambulation, bed making, just to name a few. Looking back, I can remember the many group projects which taught us that teamwork makes the dream work. It was all worth it, sitting down for hours learning about autonomy and physiology and related disorders, infection and infection control, nutrition, basic pharmacology, just to name a few. The level of information taught at this institution is outstanding. The teachers ensured we were up to date with the information and no one would leave SLI half-baked. Then it came time for work experience. My visits to the hospital, doctor's office, psychiatric facility, and nursing homes, gaining hands-on patient care experiences, proved that the greater the knowledge base, the better you will function, and function I did with pride and confidence. There are individuals whom I would like to highlight who have made this journey an awesome one. First, let me acknowledge the Creator, who is the head of my life. He was and still is my true tower of strength. I staggered not at the promises of God through unbelief, but I was strong in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully persuaded what He had promised He was able also to perform. I am forever grateful to God. To my principal, Mrs. Morgan, thank you for continuing to urge us to be the best caregivers that we can be. The kind that you, my listeners, would want to have caring for you if you were ever to become ill and need well-trained, competent caregivers. On days when we felt like throwing in the towel, you, Mrs. Morgan, was a driving force. You inspired us. You are one in a million. Your belief in the ability and capabilities of your students is extremely inspirational. Thank you for your hard work and dedication. To Miss Jones and Miss Wint, words are not enough to describe how much we appreciate your relentless efforts, ensuring that we all did excellently. We are grateful that you both stood the test of time because somehow we are real rock stone. To Mrs. Gordon, thank you for serving us throughout your time spent at this institution. You were a tower of strength, having morning devotions, ensuring we started the day right. Heaven bless you richly. To my mom and dad, saying thank you is not enough. You babysat for me while I attended school. And to my dad, who would sometimes assist me to the bus stop in the mornings and sometimes wait for me in the evenings to take me home, you both made my journey better. To my loving and caring husband and to the rest of my family and friends, I love you all. You all played a part in this journey I undertook. It wasn't easy, but you ensured I made it through, whether by prayer, encouraging words, or financial assistance. Finally, to my batchmates, you are the ones that have kept school life interesting. From school trips to classroom conversations, hours spent on the phone venting how tired we were. But here we are today celebrating our achievements. Melissa, Shauna Gay, Georgiana, Janine, Diane, and Moya. Do you all remember the days when we were broke and it was only cup soup we could afford for lunch? Wow. And even though that's all we could afford, we sat together laughing instead of being cast down. Not to mention the days Georgiana would bring her cream crackers and we would all dive into them when hunger whipped us in the skin. So many bittersweet memories, but we stuck it all together. Enough about food now. I can recall there were times when we felt really down, and Moya would storm heaven for us, and also on my behalf when I needed extra strength to carry on. Prayer is what kept us together as a group. We had our days when we would argue, even to the point of vexation, but we were never vexed with each other for long. We knitted back together as though nothing had happened. And that was one of the most admirable qualities about my little group. To Diane Bernard, thank you for always giving a listening ear and being fair and honest in any situation. You spoke from the heart always, and for that, we love you. To Batch 45, you all have made a positive contribution in some way or the other to our batch, Batch 46. For those reasons and 1,000 reasons more, I will always remember you and the time spent at this institution with a smile on my face. Our hard work has truly paid off. And lest I forget, we give God thanks for the daily devotions at school that kept us reminded that there is a loving God who is to be served, glorified, and honored. Life is a journey, and we are all in it together. It's not an easy road. It's about evolving and being the best you and the best me, whilst dealing with all the ups and downs it offers. Yes, obstacles will appear, and there'll be potholes, roadblocks, and missed exits. There will be times of despair, but just remember, you are never alone. God is always there, beside, behind, and in front of you. And like Chronics would say, me say me never give up, say there ain't no giving in. 'Cause when the going gets tough, I said the tough gets going. We will keep pushing because we know we can achieve our dreams and because we are worth it. Graduating class of 2021, from this day forward, let us make each decision with our best interest and the interest of others in mind. Let's believe in ourselves so that we may all reach our goals and fulfill our dreams. Let us be the best caregivers we can be so that our lives can be a blessing to those around us. Again, I say, yes, we made it. This is only the beginning. Go make the world your oyster. Think big. Once you believe it, you will achieve it. And as the Caregivers Pledge states, we will give safe, correct care and do no harm. My parting words to you all, hold firm to your integrity. Take the limits off yourselves. Face each new problem with confidence, knowing that with God, all things are possible. Be committed. Reach as far as you possibly can along the career path. The same determination that has led us thus far can and will take us further. Let it be said, when we enter the clinical arena, great nurses still exist. Wow. Yes, yes, yes. We have surely made it. Dedication, no limitation. Strive for excellence.
There is hope. I have retired how many years now? Having done 40 years of nursing. And today I am elated that here some really good nurses have come out of SLI, and I'm holding you all to your word. Be great nurses. And I will say to you, every morning before you leave home, just look in the mirror and see who you see. A great nurse. Bless you. At this time, we are going to have our guest speaker, who is none other than our chairman of our board, Mr. Ort Campbell. He will be introduced by Miss Monique Reed, a trainee. Let us hear from Miss Reed, and the next voice you will hear is that of our guest speaker, our wonderful chairman, Mr. Ort Campbell.
Master of Ceremonies, the board chairman, our principal, Mrs. Morgan, graduates, distinguished guests, members of staff, all those watching online, postgraduates, fellow trainees, family members, well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen, children, good afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our speaker this afternoon, Mr. Ort Campbell. Mr. Campbell received his education at Crescent All-Age School. He then moved on to the Dintle Technical High School, after which he began his tertiary education at the University of the West Indies in Public Administration. He continued his education at the University of Technology in Land, Economy, and Valuation Surveying. Then finally at the Jamaica Theological Seminary in Theology and Guidance and Counseling. He is retired as property manager in the National Insurance Fund, a division of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Mr. Campbell met the beautiful Grace Ann Shaw, and they got married in 1990. They have 2 sons who are now adults. Over the years, Mr. Campbell has served in many areas at the local church level, as well as the national level of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, Jamaica. He has been a Sunday school teacher since 1986 and is currently serving as the president of the National Christian Education Auxiliary Sunday School for a 2nd term. He is former board member of the Apostolic Early Childhood Institution, former treasurer of Spanish Town Primary School Parent Teachers Association, and former assistant secretary of the Green Acres Citizens Association. He currently serves as marriage officer and elder at Harvest Ministries. He is also advisory board chairman of Spanish Town Learning Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a very cordial welcome to Mr. Ort Campbell.
Thank you, Ms. Reed, for that kind invitation. Master of Ceremonies, Mrs. Lawrence Campbell, Principal, Mrs. Morgan, other members of the Advisory Board, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and to the especially to the SLI graduating class, good afternoon. It is indeed a privilege for me to be here to share with you on this special occasion of your graduation. This is your day of celebration. And as your theme says, as our theme says, dedication, no limitations, strive for excellence. The pandemic, which started last year, has been a real unprecedented challenge for every one of us. And it is true that last year, you, the graduating class, you had to be dedicated, along with your principal, Mrs. Morgan, the academic staff and the administrative staff. You had to be dedicated. Your dedication had to go beyond the norm for us to have this great celebration today. And so I want to say heartiest congratulations on this special occasion for us all. As we look at the graduating class, we can see the joy of completing another leg in the journey of studies. Aren't you happy? I tell you, all of us feel it. When we complete it, we're just looking forward to that day. And that will give us that impetus to keep pushing. That day is coming. And because of your dedication, and you saw no limitation, you really strive for excellence. Dedication is the quality of being committed to a task or purpose, and you have done it. So in celebration of the class, graduating class, let us give them a resounding applause. All right, I want to share with you something personal now. Last year, June, was the first in my life, I was being admitted in an hospital. First in my life. And so it was a new experience for me. This, because I'm associated now with SLI, it brings me now to just look at how the nurses and the medical team treat with patients. And you know, while I was there, you have some really nice nurses, medical personnel, but you have some that are just cold. And I tell you, there was a nurse, I was getting 6 injections a day. And the nurse come and said, Mr. Campbell, I come to give anybody's afraid of injections? Mr. Campbell, I come to give you your injection. I'm going to give you one in your arm and one in your leg. It's a good thing, you know. Over the time, I've become accustomed to injection, but not all accustomed to it. So she double her lip. And goes, no. And you see her body language, I say, yes, no. Yes, Jesus. I have to look away. And I look away and she gave me the one in the arm. I said, let me look and see the one in the leg now. And she do that. Boom! I said, Jesus, I said, she do it. She just threw the needle in. So I was telling somebody about it. I said, yes, man, that is the way it is to be done. Throw the needle in and just squeeze it out. I don't know. But the body language was a little bit intimidating. But I appreciate all the effort, all the care, the medical care that was given to me. And the sum total, like I'd say, it was a good experience with the medical team. I just want to encourage you to be emotionally sensitive to your patients, because you're going to have such a wide, I'm not lecturing you now, you must have gone through that. But having had the experience, I just want to encourage you, be emotionally sensitive to your clients, your patients, and you will have such a wide variety. Some who will give trouble and some who won't give you so much trouble. I would like to share with you the experience of a lady to inspire you by the name of Rosa Parks. And this comes from your theme, dedication, no limitation. Just using that portion of it. Rosa Parks, anybody knows that name? Right? Yes, 1913 to 2005. She was an ordinary working black American woman. But she was committed to a task. The task of standing up, or in her case, sitting in defiance of authorities who had some disgraceful laws of racial segregation and racial discrimination. And so she was sitting in a bus. And the bus was not full, but there were some seats that were specially reserved for the whites. And she was sitting in the row behind that seat, those seats. And those seats were full, and so the driver now asked her to get up and go further back in the bus in order to facilitate a white man who was come in the bus. And she said, no, I am not getting up. And they called the police. And she said, I am not getting up. Other seats are in the bus. He can sit somewhere else. And so the police came. This happened in 1955, December 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, USA. And the police arrested her and charged her for violating the segregation rule. And she insisted. She was dedicated, she was committed to the task of fighting against racial discrimination. And what? The police charged her. The police charged her, and on the day of court, there was an arrangement where the blacks would boycott the bus. And 70% of the commuters were blacks. And they said they were going to boycott the bus. And the case came up, and she was convicted. And they said they are not going to take the bus again until this law is changed. And for 1 year, those black men and women walked rather than taking the bus because they were, let me use the word of your theme, dedicated. They were committed to a task. And at the end of the year, the case had reached the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that this racial discrimination is unconstitutional and must be repealed. So she fought, and she was successful. This is just one example to show you what dedication can do. She saw no limitation. She was just one woman, but she saw no limitation. This thing must stop. And as we reflect in our society today, we still see that thing happening, racial discrimination happening in the same US. And that's why they're having no Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matters. And so we have to stand up. As long as we know we are standing up for the right thing, let us be committed to the task. Be committed to the task of standing up against injustice, standing up against wrong, standing up against humiliating situations which brings us pain and agony, which is uncalled for. This lady, she was so honored that she was the first black person to lie in state in the U.S. Capitol building. That same building that the white people raided the other day. You know that story? Right, that same building. She lied in state in that building. And so I'm very brief, I want to exhort the graduating class today to be determined in striving for excellence, and that there is no limitation in what you can achieve. Thank you. That's the end.
To our Master of Ceremonies, our guest speaker, Mr. Campbell, Miss Christy Daly, our principal, Mrs. Morgan, to our lovely, beautiful graduates, and to our member of staff, participants, physically present, and of course, those who are online streaming, or relatives or friends. How can we forget about you? I mean, I know you are enjoying this afternoon, and we are happy to have you here with us. All right, so we are at, I would say, the most exciting part of our program today. This part of our program is when the students will be awarded for their great work. I mean, the sweat and the tears, as one of our valedictorians said. I mean, they will be awarded. And come on, graduates, don't feel like you didn't do well. I don't want to see any long face. You all did well. All right? So, the criteria for merit certificates are as follows. Being cooperative. To meet this criteria, this trainee must be one who has worked well with his or her teammates for the common purpose, helpful, caring, and accommodating. Next, being the most disciplined. To meet this criteria, this trainee must be outstanding in the area of discipline, which is following rules and regulations, and of good attendance and deportment. Being most improved. To meet this criterion, trainees would have shown growth in all areas, theory and practical, over the duration of the course. A comparison is made to measure the level of growth. Taking the top positions in class, trainees in this category are those who occupy the first, second, and third spots in overall performance. Being outstanding in practicum or work experience. To meet this criterion, trainees must perform creditably at all facilities while on work experience. Trainee of the Year Award. To meet this criteria, this trainee must be outstanding in all areas: theory, oral, and practical components, coursework, communication and interpersonal skills, attendance, deportment. Top performer in City and Guilds. To meet this criteria, this trainee must be outstanding in all areas. To meet this criteria, this trainee must perform creditably in all the following areas: portfolio, units, oral, practical exams, final examination. And last but by no means least, top award for both English, language, and mathematics. To meet this criteria, this trainee must perform excellently, obtaining 90% or above in both subject areas and attend more than 90% of the classes. So, let's go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Those online, are you ready? Come on, type in the comment section. Put up your clapping emoji. You're going to cheer for your family. No, you cannot be here physically, but I want to see you cheering online. All right, let's go. Will the following students or the following trainees please come forward? Diane Page, Amanda Crossman, Charmaine Morrison, Marcelle Magoo, Sabrina Thompson, Janelle Campbell, Latoya Temple, Diane Bernard, Nestra Dawkins, Georgiana Clark, Shawnee Anderson. For being disciplined, helpful, emotionally mature, most improved student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, this goes to Diane Page. Give it up for Diane Page. Come on, keep the clap going. For being a disciplined, respectful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Amanda Crossman. Next, for being a disciplined and helpful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Charmaine Morrison. For being a disciplined and helpful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Marcelle Magoo for being respectful and cooperative. For being disciplined, respectful, for being disciplined and a respectful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Sabrina Thompson. For being a disciplined and respectful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Janelle Campbell. Alright, for being placed first in class, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Latoya Temple. For being placed second in class, a disciplined and helpful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Diane Bernard. And even though this person is not physically present with us, we still want to give it up for Terry Ann Jones, who was placed third in class, for being a disciplined and helpful student, and for outstanding performance during work experience. So Terry Ann, if you're watching online, give yourself a clap. You did very well. Congratulations. All right, for being placed first in class and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Nestra Dawkins. For being placed second in class and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Georgiana Clark. Alright, for being placed third in class and for outstanding performance during work experience, give it up for Shauna Gay Anderson. These are for those other persons who performed outstandingly during their work experience / practicum. Will the following graduates who are present at the ceremony please come forward? So first, let me acknowledge those who are not here physically with us but might be watching online. Markian Brown, give it up for Markian Brown. Ashley Henry, Tian Denton, Shantali Pinnock, and Kedisha Campbell. They performed outstandingly during their work experience, and we want to say congratulations and keep the hard work going. Now will the following students who are present come forward? Gabriel Allen, Melissa Campbell Roberts, Janelle Gordon, Talqua Johnson, Nadira Nelson, and Moya Wright. Give it up for Gabriel Allen. Melissa Campbell Roberts. Janelle Gordon. Come on, keep the clap going, everyone. Talqua Johnson. Nadira Nelson. And last but not least, our songbird, Moya Wright. So our top performer in City and Guilds, presenter Miss Crystal Daly. And this goes to Latoya Temple. Next, our top performers in mathematics. And we have 3 students. They are Gabriel Allen,
Again, I want you to give it up for Amanda Crossman. Congratulations, ladies. All right, so we will be handing out our certificates at this time. Please come in this order that your name will be called in. Nadira Nelson. Marceli Megu. Following Marceli is Shonagay Anderson. Diane Bernard. Charmaine Morrison. Latoya Temple. Nestra Dawkins. Moya Wright. Tolkwa Johnson. Georgiana Clark. Gabriel Allen. Diane Page. Sabrina Thompson. Janelle Gordon. Janelle Campbell. Melissa Campbell Roberts. And Amanda Crossman. Come on, ladies, I want you to give yourselves a round of applause. Participants, viewers online, give yourselves, give your family, your daughter, whether that be your sister, your brother, your child, they all did well they all did something to make you proud, and so I just want you to celebrate with them. Congratulations, ladies. God bless and God go with you all.
At this time, we're going to be presenting some tokens to our Master of Ceremonies. our guest speaker, Miss Wind and Miss Jones. I'm going to be asking the following students to come forward to make these presentations. Amanda Crosman and Georgina Clark. Miss Wind. To our Master of Ceremonies. All right. Please do. And then our guests coming forward. And then Miss Wind and then Miss Jones. Amanda, stay for the guest speaker as well. And Georgiana, you made the presentation to Miss Wind and also to Miss Jones. Miss Wind, come forward. All right, please give a round of applause for all these persons.
I'm sure we always say it was good for us to be here. Can you give yourself a round of applause, graduates? To our audience on the other side, can you give yourself a round of applause? Our principal, Mrs. Morgan, can you give a round of applause for her? The chairman of our board, Mr. Campbell, can you give a round of applause? Miss Daly from City and Guilds, our tutors and workers from the end. Bless the Lord, it's so good. And our trainees, shall we not forget them? At this time, we're going to have tributes. Past trainees, are they here? Mr. Richard Smith, followed by Mrs. Sophia Gibbon Baker, who is here. And then we will be having a song from our graduating class. Mr.
Good evening, members of the platform, graduates especially, gentlemen and women, personnel online, I bid you all a fair evening. I must say it is an humbling opportunity to be here today. Firstly, I must say that SLI, without any apology, stands a cut above the rest. And I say that not because I am a past student of SLI. I am one of the batch of 43rd practical nurse that was trained here. And I have had many experience under the banner of a medical assistant, counselor, and I could go on, but I will not for the interest of time. But I will say to you that I have seen training institutions that has not imparted the knowledge that SLI has. And I know that graduates, you stand here today and you can bear me witness Those online who are my batchmates, my senior, and those who are coming, you will not receive a training such as this one. You are placed in an environment, and when you are placed in an environment and you can be easily identified, not because you are a male or a female, brown or dark complexion, but because of the level of training that one has received and the display of same training that one has received, then I must say it is an honor for a person to us walk up to you and say, are you an SLI graduate? I've had several of my batchmates in various institutions, and when we are on stage, so to speak, persons can say, I would like to know which institution that person went to. She's well taught. She taught me what I did not even know, and I've been here for years. I've seen opportunity being extended to those said batchmates, those past graduates, and they all wear one common denominator, and that is the SLI brand.
To our Master of Ceremonies, Chairman, and to our principal and founder of this noble institution, Mrs. Phyllis Morgan, fellow graduates, guests, invited guests, I say to you this evening, good afternoon. When I was told that I had to give a tribute this evening, I thought to myself, she remembered who I am because I attended this institution 23 years ago. It started 24 years ago, and I think I was in the first batch of students, to leave through the doors. And at the time, it was not here. It was further on the Brunswick. But through the years, I have not forgotten the instructions and what I was taught. And today, 23 years later, I am here to tell you that with hard work and determination, you can make it. I'm just going to share with you briefly my experience. And I did the early childhood course. I wanted to do early childhood, and when I started, I had no clue what I was getting myself into. But I must tell you that the reward is great. A famous quote I saw from Albert Schweitzer said, "Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful." Some of us measure success based on the amount of money we have or the material things that we would have gained over a period of time. But my success throughout the years came through all the parents and the children who I have nurtured over these 23 years. If I see a parent 20 years ago and they would say, "Mrs. Baker, you know, so-and-so is doing well, and I thank you for the foundation that you have laid." That's my success. If when you go out, you are determined. If when you go out, you are deliberate. So you wake up every day and you have a plan and you know what you are doing. You are intentional and you move forward. You can do what it is that you are called to do or what it is that you desire to do and do it well. Great people have passed through these noble institutions, but I deem myself privileged and blessed to be one of those persons. I am doing what I love because when I started out, I too was frustrated with all the assignments and all the things that we have to make. And those who would have gone into early childhood know that there's a lot to be done and there's a lot to make and you have sleepless nights. But at the end, when you are given a grade or you are told that you did well, it makes your sacrifice, it makes it worth the wait. I would encourage you today that whatever is it you put your mind to, just go ahead and do it. I'm going to leave just 2 points with you today. Be open-minded. Where I am working, I have seen many come, many trainees have come, and it's not what they expected and they stopped. You have to be intentional. Come with an open mind. You may come as a teacher or whatever it is that you want to be, and you thought that teaching is it, but you come and you have to be changing diapers and you're saying, but this is not what I came here to do. Or you have to be assisting a child who may not be able to do what others do. They are physically challenged, and you say, and it may change your mind because you thought that it would be all a bed of rose because you're sitting in a classroom and you're teaching, and when you came, it's a totally different picture. Be open-minded to what you are doing. Expect the unexpected. And if you are open-minded, many times, I too thought that this isn't what I bargained for, but because I went with an open mind, I adjusted to what I went into. And today I can say, thanks be to God. Over the 23 years I have grown, I saw where I could have improved myself. So the training that I got 23 years ago, I saw where a little more could be done, and I went on and I ensued other studies so that I could be well equipped and capable of doing the job I am doing today. Today, the institution, and I must tell you, the institution that I am working at is the one I was sent to 23 years ago for work experience. I've never gone anywhere else, and it's been my job, and I love it. It's my success. I am not seeing the riches out of it financially, but it is more rewarding to me when parents can say to me, the foundation you laid have created and have paved the path for my child today. And all those children have done well over the years. They do come back from time to time. They come with other siblings from time to time, and they want you to teach their child because they know what you have imparted to them. Be vigilant in whatever you do. And I would say to you, most of all, love with your heart and not your eyes. Because you're going there and you may love what you see, but when you really get into it, you realize that something is different. But if you love with your heart, the people you go to every day, the nursing homes you go to, you realize that you can't love you have to love them based on what you feel and not what you see. You have to love children based on what you feel and not what you see. They may be different in their own way, and this one is challenged and that one is not. You have to be prepared to work with everyone. So I would say to you, love with your heart and not your eyes. So when the tests come and when the trials come and when things come that you are not up for, you can go with it. And my final thought to you today, and I saw this quote, and it is from Colin Powell. A dream doesn't become a reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work, which are the success that I today am reaping. Thank you.
chance. That's why
Just remain standing for your pledge. Okay? The caregiver's pledge. Can you just put your hand across to your heart? And you're going to do the caregiver's pledge. You know it. Come on.
I promise to give safe, correct care and do no harm.
Can we say that again?
I promise to give safe, correct care and do no harm.
And I will also remind you of your motto. By determination, persistence, and hard work, you can reach your goals. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good afternoon to you all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first begin by giving glory to the Almighty God for making this occasion possible and such a success. I thank our guest speaker, Mr. Orred Campbell, who honored the function with his inspirational thoughts, which I am sure will linger long in our hearts. To our Master of Ceremony, Mrs. Valda Lawrence Campbell, thanks to you for moderating this ceremony, so able to ensure the smooth running of this program. Thanks are also due to our principal, Mrs. Phyllis Morgan, for the help and support she gave us throughout our training and for providing a good learning environment. We thank her for giving a comprehensive school report and for her fine words of encouragement. I would like to express my gratitude to all the teaching and non-teaching staff for their valuable support to ensure that we made it to the end. To Bishop Esson for allowing us to use this beautiful edifice to host our graduation ceremony. To our musician, Mr. Morris, who has worked tireless with us through all our practice session and had it so much to the success of our graduation ceremony. Thank you, Mr. Morris. A heartfelt thank you to Miss Crystal Daly from City and Guild for our warm greeting. To our photographer, Mr. Tuller, and to all the videographer, Mr. Towson, who also provided live stream so those who could not be here with us can have the pleasure of convenience of watching from home. To Mr. Robinson for preparing our beautiful banner. To Khalifa Printers Limited, who printed our programs, and to our decorators who did such a splendid job in decorating the church, creating such a lovely ambience. Special thanks to Miss Stanley Gale, Mr. Jason Jones and Miss Monique Reed for the pivotal role they so able played. To Mr. Richard Smith and Miss Sophia Gibbon Baker, to the awesome tribute they gave to Spanish Town Learning Institute, and a reminder to us graduates that we made the right choice in selecting SLI to pursue our training, and that with hard work and determination we too will achieve our dreams. To the ushers and SLI staff who did an awesome job ensuring our safety in keeping with COVID protocols and in contributing to the smooth running of the evening proceeding. Last but not least, to the distinguished invitees present here who have accepted our invitation, and those watching on live stream, a hearty thank you. Thanks to everyone who contribute in any way, small or great, to ensure the overall success of the evening proceeding. And finally, congratulations caps to all our graduates who I'm sure when we started, some of us thought we would not have made it, but here we are, we did it. I leave with you a small, tried and proven scripture, Philippians 4 verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthened us, and I had who has strengthened us. Once again, I thank you all for making this evening a success. Thank you.
You will agree with me that this was a wonderful afternoon. I would not have missed it for anything. I woke up this morning and yesterday I totally forgot about the graduation. And then suddenly I saw this text on my phone from Mrs. Morgan. I said, Lord have mercy. I was so happy that she reminded me because I wanted to be here and I'm glad I made it here. Can we all just stand? Mr. Musician, he will do the national anthem for us. Can we all just stand for the national anthem? And I must say that you have been wonderful graduates, wonderful audience, and to those who are online, you missed something. But thank God you were able to see everything that transpired this afternoon. Thank you so much for making the afternoon what it was or what it has been. And we all look forward to seeing you all in the work areas doing and saying the same things that you said this afternoon. And to my songbird, wow, wonderful. You have done well. Graduates, keep up the good work. Keep up the standard that you have learned at SLI, and may God bless you all. Let us just have the national anthem. Remain standing while our graduates will just move us out of here. Do you understand what I mean? It's no walkout, it's a dance out, graduates. Blessings.
Let's celebrate.